Imagine this. It's January 1st, 2026, and the world awakens to stunning news from Beijing. A young reformer in his early 40s has risen through the ranks of the Chinese Communist Party, backed by a coalition of progressive technocrats and environmental advocates, to become the new paramount leader of China. Let's call him Li Wei, a fictional figure inspired by the emerging generation of educated, globally minded officials who have studied abroad and pushed for change from within. In this alternate reality, economic pressures, youth unrest, and global climate demands have forced a leadership transition, sidelining more traditional hardliners. Li Wei takes the helm, promising openness, green innovation, and a pivot towards sustainable growth. How did this happen? Today, we'll explore what China and the world might look like under this young reformer's rule in 2025. From thawing trade wars to a green revolution, the changes could be profound. Stay with me. The implications might reshape everything we know about global power. To understand this hypothetical shift, we need to look at the real pressures facing China in 2025. The economy is slowing, with GDP growth projected at around 4.5%, down from the heady days of double-digit expansion. High debt levels, an aging population, and lingering effects from the property market bubble have created a perfect storm. Youth unemployment hovers near record highs, and deflationary pressures are squeezing consumer spending. Add to that escalating trade tensions with the United States, where new tariffs under a second Trump administration are biting into exports. Public sentiment is shifting. Online discussions and subtle protests hint at a desire for change, especially among the urban middle class and tech-savvy millennials who crave more freedom and environmental action. In our scenario, Li Wei emerges as the answer. Born in the 1980s, he's a product of China's elite universities, with a degree in environmental engineering from Tsinghua and an MBA from Harvard. He's spent years in provincial governments, championing pilot programs for renewable energy and digital transparency. By mid-2024, as economic woes deepen, a faction within the party, tired of stagnation, pushes for reform. At the third plenum in July 2024, whispers of leadership renewal grow louder. Li Wei's vision: a harmonious renewal plan that balances party control with market openness, green tech, and youth empowerment. He argues that clinging to old models risks instability, citing data from the World Bank showing structural challenges like slowing productivity. In a dramatic Politburo meeting, he's elevated to General Secretary, with promises of continuity but hints of evolution. As leader, he inherits a China grappling with 2.4% inflation, a shrinking workforce due to the one-child policy legacy, and international isolation from ongoing South China Sea disputes. But here's the intrigue. Li Wei's first speech vows to open doors whilst safeguarding sovereignty, signaling a departure. What unfolds next? Let's dive into the economic transformations. Under Li Wei's leadership, China's economy undergoes a bold overhaul, shifting from export-driven manufacturing to a more balanced, innovation-led model. His first major act is announcing the Green Prosperity Initiative, a $500 billion stimulus package funded by reallocating resources from heavy industry subsidies to renewable sectors. Drawing from real 2025 forecasts by the OECD, where growth is expected to dip to 4.7% amid precautionary savings, Li Wei targets consumption by reducing taxes on middle-class earners and introducing incentives for domestic spending. Imagine the ripple effects. Urban households, long cautious due to economic uncertainty, start buying more electric vehicles and smart home devices, boosting retail sales by an estimated 8%. He tackles the debt crisis head-on, with local governments' burdens projected at over 100% of GDP in real data. Li Wei mandates a national debt audit, leading to the consolidation of trillions in off-balance sheet liabilities through green bonds. Provinces like Guangdong and Shanghai pilot eco-zones, where tax breaks attract foreign investment in clean tech, reversing the outflow seen in 2024. Productivity, a key drag in actual 2025 outlooks from Deloitte, gets a boost via AI integration in factories. Li Wei's administration invests heavily in vocational training, aiming to reskill 50 million workers displaced by automation. Unemployment, hovering at 5.5% in urban areas, begins to fall as new jobs emerge in solar panel manufacturing and biotech. But it's not all smooth. Traditional coal-dependent regions like Shanxi resist, sparking internal debates. Li Wei counters with a just transition fund, providing subsidies for retraining and relocation. On the global front, he eases restrictions on foreign ownership in key sectors, attracting billions from European firms eager for EV partnerships. By mid-2025, GDP growth rebounds to 5.2%, exceeding IMF projections of 4.8% under tariff pressures. Inflation stabilizes at 2%, thanks to increased supply chains for food and energy. Critics within the party whisper about diluting state control, but Li Wei frames it as adaptive socialism, echoing Deng Xiaoping's reforms. The question lingers: can this openness sustain without compromising security? As we explore foreign policy, the answers get even more fascinating. Li Wei's foreign policy marks a seismic shift from isolation to selective engagement, prioritizing diplomacy over confrontation. In real 2025, China faces heightened U.S. tariffs and EU scrutiny over subsidies, as per Reuters reports. Li Wei responds by proposing a new Silk Road Accord, an updated Belt and Road Initiative focused on green infrastructure. He initiates talks with the U.S. in Geneva, offering concessions on intellectual property in exchange for tariff relief, building on the actual China-U.S. Geneva Agreement. Timeline from BBVA Research. This de-escalates tensions, leading to a bilateral trade surge of 10%. With Europe, Li Wei courts leaders like Germany's chancellor, emphasizing shared climate goals. China joins international pacts on carbon trading, reducing emissions by 5% year-on-year, aligning with ADB forecasts for 4.7% growth supported by green policies. In Asia, he softened stances in the South China Sea, proposing joint resource development with ASEAN nations, easing disputes that have simmered since 2024. Relations with India improve through tech exchanges, mitigating border frictions. Africa and Latin America see increased investments in sustainable mining, countering criticisms of debt traps. Domestically, this openness boosts soft power. Chinese media highlights win-win partnerships, fostering national pride. But risks emerge. Hardliners fear vulnerability to Western influence, and espionage concerns persist. Li Wei balances this with strengthened cyber defenses, investing $100 billion in digital sovereignty. Globally, China's image softens. A hypothetical Pew poll shows approval ratings rising 15% in Europe. Yet what if adversaries exploit this thaw? The policy's success hinges on reciprocity. U.S. tariffs could force retaliatory measures, slowing exports projected at 4% growth by Fitch Ratings. As we turn to society, the domestic impacts reveal even deeper changes. Society under Li Wei blossoms with renewed energy as reforms target the youth and cultural openness. In actual 2025, China's aging population, over 300 million seniors, strains pensions per World Bank data. Li Wei introduces a
Youth Vitality Program, relaxing the hukou system to allow easier urban migration for 200 million rural workers, boosting social mobility. Education gets a facelift. Curricula emphasize critical thinking and global studies, with partnerships from U.S. universities increasing exchange students by 20%. Mental health, a growing crisis amid economic stress, sees nationwide clinics funded by reallocated budgets. Culturally, censorship eases slightly. Independent films on environmental themes gain approval, sparking a creative renaissance. Social media platforms like Weibo allow more debate on non-sensitive topics, reducing the Great Firewall's grip. Women's rights advance with policies for equal pay and maternity support, addressing the birth rate drop to 1.1 per woman. Environmental consciousness surges. Public campaigns promote recycling, cutting urban pollution by 10%. But challenges persist. Inequality between coastal cities and inland provinces widens initially, prompting subsidies for rural green jobs. Protests, rare but rising in real 2025 per Merrick's forecasts, are met with dialogue rather than force, diffusing tensions. Family values evolve. Incentives for larger families include tax breaks, aiming to stabilize demographics. Overall, society feels more vibrant, with consumer confidence rising as per Deloitte's low-altitude economy.
Projections. Yet, party oversight remains. Harmonious means aligned with core values. The big question: does this empowerment erode control or strengthen loyalty? As innovation takes center stage, the answers unfold. Technology becomes the cornerstone of Li Wei's vision, propelling China toward global leadership in green innovation. Building on Made in China 2025 legacies, he accelerates investments in renewables, targeting 50% clean energy by 2030. Solar and wind capacities double, with new factories in Inner Mongolia producing advanced panels, countering real 2025 slowdowns noted by Economics Observatory. AI ethics guidelines promote transparent development, attracting talent back from Silicon Valley. Biotech flourishes. CRISPR advancements in agriculture boost food security, addressing import dependencies amid tariffs. Electric vehicles dominate. BYD and others expand, capturing 60% global market share. Space tech advances with lunar missions focused on helium-3 mining for fusion. Challenges include IP theft accusations, but Li Wei's openness invites audits, easing tensions. R&D spending hits 3% of GDP, per Oxford Economics forecasts. Urban smart cities integrate IoT for efficiency, reducing energy waste by 15%. But over-reliance on state funding risks bubbles, as seen in past initiatives. Li Wei mitigates with private sector incentives, fostering startups. The result: China leads in graphene and drones, as Bloomberg notes in the real assessments. Innovation isn't just economic, it's cultural, inspiring youth to pursue STEM. What if this boom backfires? Backlashes loom as we explore the downsides. No transformation is without hurdles, and Li Wei's reforms face fierce opposition. Hardliners within the party resist openness, fearing ideological dilution, leading to internal purges and whispers of coups. Economic inequality spikes initially. Rural areas lag, sparking protests in provinces like Henan. Environmental pushes clash with coal lobbies, causing temporary blackouts. Internationally, skepticism abounds. U.S. hawks view reforms as a Trojan horse, maintaining tariffs per IMF outlooks. Cyber vulnerabilities rise with openness, inviting hacks from rivals. Socially, relaxed controls lead to bolder dissent. Online forums erupt with critiques, testing censorship limits. Youth empowerment backfires if jobs don't materialize. fueling unrest amid 15% unemployment rates in some cities. Leeway responds with town halls and adjustments, but approval dips to 60%. Scandals emerge. Corruption in green funds exposes cronies. By late 2025, growth stumbles to 4.8% if tariffs escalate. The biggest risk? Overreach. Pushing too fast erodes trust. Yet, in our scenario, leeway adapts, strengthening alliances. The legacy? A more resilient China. But at what cost? By December 2025, China under leeway stands transformed. GDP hits 5%, emissions drop 12%, and relations with the West thaw, per hypothetical Bruegel analyses. Society thrives with empowered youth and greener cities. Globally, China emerges as a climate leader, influencing COP summits. But shadows linger. Party control tightens subtly, and economic dependencies persist. In the best case, this ushers in a golden era of renewal, with innovation driving prosperity. In the worst, backlashes fracture unity. Leeway's legacy, proving reform can coexist with stability. The world watches. Could this inspire global shifts? So what if a young reformer led China in 2025? It's a tale of bold openness clashing with entrenched realities, potentially reshaping trade, climate, and power dynamics. A China more integrated yet assertive. What do you think? Progress or peril? Comment below. Who could be China's next game changer? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more alternate leader scenarios. Next, what if a populist outsider ruled the UK? Don't miss it. This is a fictional scenario for entertainment and educational purposes. All events are speculative and not intended to offend or misrepresent any individuals or groups.